Buenas tardes a todos.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Muchas gracias por estar acá.
Thank you very much for being here.
Gracias a las autoridades del
Many
Gobierno
thanks to the
Nacional,
authorities of the national government, to the Secretary General of the Presidency,
y los ministros del Gabinete Nacional.
the Vice President and the Ministers of the National Cabinet. Thank you also to the authorities of the National Congress, the Presidents of the legislative blocks,
Las autoridades de la
the members
provincia,
of the Joint
y todos
Chiefs of
ustedes que se han
Staff,
hecho
the
presentes
authorities
aquí
of the
para
province,
celebrar
and
los
all of you who have been
214
here
años
to
de la
celebrate the
Revolución de Mayo.
214th anniversary of the May Revolution.
El 25 de mayo
May 25th is a historic date for Argentines, but it is an especially important date for us.
porque mayo para nosotros
Because
es mucho
May,
más que
for
una
us,
fecha en el
is much
calendario.
more than a date on the
Mayo es una
calendar.
doctrina, es un conjunto
May
de
is a
ideas y
doctrine.
principios
It is
que
a set of
representan lo
ideas
mejor de
and
la tradición
principles that
argentina.
represent the best of the
Mayo
Argentine
para nosotros
tradition.
es un concepto, es una idea que resume
May for
dos
us is a
principios,
concept, it is an
libertad
idea that is
y
summarized
democracia.
in two principles: freedom and democracy.
Una idea que surgió de la voluntad
An
de
idea
un
that
pequeño
arose
grupo
from
de
the will
hombres
of a small
que hace
group of men who
214
214 years
años
ago
decidieron romper con las
decided to
cadenas de la
break the
tiranía
chains of
y
tyranny and
declarar
declare
que las
that the
provincias unidas
United
del Río de la
Provinces of
Plata
the Rio de la
empezarían el
Plata
arduo
would
camino
begin
que
the long road
constituirse en una
of
nación
building
libre y
themselves into a
soberana.
free and sovereign
Y
nation,
aquellos hombres y mujeres
because
que
those
dieron la
men
vida
and
por la
women who
patria
gave their
en
lives for the
aquella
country in
gesta
that
revolucionaria
revolutionary feat knew
sabían que
that in
para
order
que
to be
podamos ser
free, we
libres
must
primero
first be
debíamos ser
independent.
independientes. Esa tradición tuvo
That
a lo
tradition
largo de
had
dos
great
siglos de nuestra
milestones
historia
throughout 2
grandes
centuries of
hitos.
our history.
Desde la
From
revolución
the
misma
revolution
podemos
itself, we
trazar un
can
hilo
trace a
conductor
common thread
hasta
to
la
the
sanción de
sanction of
nuestra
our
sagrada
sacred
Constitución de
Constitution of
1853,
1853.
inspirada en los principios de
Inspired
Alberti y
by the
Gorostiaga,
principles of
dos de los
Alberti and
grandes exponentes de la
Gorostiaga,
generación
two
del
of the great
37,
exponents of
tal
the
vez la
generation
más
of
representativa de las
37,
ideas de
perhaps
Mayo.
the most
Esa
representative of the
generación
ideas
que
of
volcó los
May.
principios de Mayo en nuestro documento fundacional fue
That
quien marcó el
generation that
norte del
poured the
modelo de
principles
país
of
que
May
nuestros
into our
padres
founding
fundadores
document was
imaginaban.
the one that marked the north of the model of country that our founding fathers imagined.
Yo también. Ese es el gran cordobés.
That is the great Cordoban.
Costó mucho materializar
It
la
took a
visión
lot
de
to
aquellos
materialize
grandes
the
hombres.
vision of those
Desde la
great men from
revolución
the
a la
revolution
sanción de
to the
nuestra
sanction of our
Constitución.
Constitution.
Argentina se vio imbuida en guerras intestinas
Argentina
entre
was
aquellos que
immersed in
defendían las
internal
ideas de
wars
Mayo
between those who
entre aquellos que
defended the
querían
ideas of
alejarse de los
May and
principios de
between
nuestros
those
padres
who wanted to
fundadores.
distance
No fue
themselves
hasta
from
la
the
incorporación de
principles
la
of our
provincia de
founding
Buenos Aires
fathers.
a la Confederación Argentina en el año
It was not until the
1860
incorporation
que
of the
logramos
province
establecer las
of
bases y
Buenos
principios
Aires into the
iluminadas por
Argentine
nuestros héroes de mayo.
Confederation in 1860 that we
Ocurrió
were able
luego de
to
la incorporación
establish
de
the
Buenos Aires a la
foundations and
nación
principles
y la
envisioned
adopción
by
de los
our
principios
heroes
de
of
Mayo volcados en nuestra
May.
Constitución.
What happened
Es una de
after
las
the
imágenes de progreso
incorporation
más
of Buenos
espectaculares
Aires into
en la
the
historia
nation and the
occidental
adoption
de la
of the May
historia de la
principles
humanidad.
reflected in our
Argentina,
Constitution is one of the
hasta
most
1860
spectacular
era un país de
stories of
bárbaros,
progress
se
in
convirtió en
Western
35 años la
history.
primer
In the
potencia
history
mundial.
of humanity, Argentina, which until 1860 was a country of barbarians, became the world's leading power in 35 years. From being an impoverished and illiterate nation, divided by the sterile disputes of small men who aspired to be monarchs in their own land, Argentina now became the darling of the West. The explosion of wealth, growth and progress generated by the adoption of the May Principles has not had, and never had, a parallel in history. perhaps only comparable to the American Revolution and the progress of the United States as a nation. An entire generation of leaders understood that, beyond personal ambitions, our founding fathers had marked out a course for our nation and that this course was embodied in a constitution that was designed, in essence, to defend the life, liberty and private property of Argentines. That generation, which put the May principles into action and built a world power from a land of barbarians, was the generation that we know today as the generation of the 80s. A generation that today has given us some of the best exponents of the May principles, such as Mitre, Sarmiento, Avellaneda, Roca, and also Pellegrini, the great pilot of storms. Argentina, under the leadership of these great men, materialized the sacred principle of our preamble, which sought to establish national unity, strengthen justice, consolidate internal peace, provide for the common defense, promote general welfare and, fundamentally, ensure the benefits of freedom for us, for our posterity and for all men of the world who want to inhabit Argentine soil. And boy did they do it. Regrettably, at a certain point in our history, we decided to abandon the principles that had brought so much prosperity and progress to our lands. And we let ourselves be deceived by the siren songs of those who buried Argentina for decades in the deepest darkness. I am not going to delve here into the reasons for our failure. You have already heard me speak at length about it. It is not our ambition or our spirit to turn the past around, but on the contrary, our only ambition is to lay the foundations of a different future for our children. Because, in essence, we are nothing more than direct descendants of the tradition of the revolutionaries of May. We do not defend any principles other than those upheld by the great heroes of the revolution. By the generation of 37, by the generation of 80, and by all those men and women of our history who have fought to defend the ideas of freedom for our lands. In the words of Esteban Echeverría himself, one of the great thinkers of our country, the thought of May is ours. We aspire to see it fully realized, whatever the success of our efforts and hopes, whatever the destiny that awaits us. In vain, tyranny, brute force and worries will wage war against us and oppose invincible obstacles. Nothing will be able to discourage us. The faith that inspires us is unchallengeable. God, the country, the cry of our conscience and our reason impose on us the duty to consecrate our strength and shed, if necessary, our blood for the holy cause of democratic freedom and for the complete emancipation of the land in which we were born. Therefore, there is no greater, more august and more sacred task for us than to consolidate, as our Constitution says, the benefits of freedom for ourselves and for our posterity. On March 1st, In the opening speech of the sessions of the Honorable Congress of the Nation, we stood before the Argentine political leadership and offered everyone, without political or partisan or ideological distinction, without revenge or resentment, without pettiness or speculation, to sit at a table and reaffirm once again the principles that made our nation great. I am not here under the May sun in La Docta, Córdoba, the productive heart of our nation, to reiterate this call, to once again extend our arms fraternally and invite you all to become aware of the enormous challenge that lies ahead, to take our nation out of decadence and put it back on the path to prosperity. That is what I am doing today. There can be no legitimate cause to oppose the sacred task of rebuilding our nation. There is no dispute, no conflict, no confrontation that justifies the abandonment of the homeland. There is no speculation, no calculation, no admission that justifies the impoverishment of our nation. That is why I want to announce today, here in Córdoba, not only that we will continue working so that the May Agreement becomes a reality in Argentina, but also that, after the signing of the May Pact, when the basis law and the fiscal package are approved, the national executive power will create the May Council to complete this sacred task. This May Council will be made up of a representative of the national government, a representative of the Argentine provinces, a representative of the Chamber of Deputies, a representative of the Chamber of Senators, a representative of the trade union organizations and a representative of the Argentine business community, and will be responsible for working on the bills that will materialize the principles adopted in the May Agreement. I also want to take this opportunity to announce that, once the lay bases and the fiscal package are approved, the national government will move forward with a significant reduction in taxes.
Repito.
Starting with the pays tax, a distorting tax that threatens production and economic growth. We know that this decision will be difficult for the coffers of the national state, but we made a commitment to the Argentine people and we will begin to return their taxes. Just as we are attacking inflation, We committed that every peso collected that ends up in a fiscal surplus will be returned to Argentines through tax reductions. Because there is no possible future for our nation if we do not take the weight of the state off the shoulders of good Argentines. We have to thank our daughter because she allowed us to come. Because she was having a very important holiday and she allowed us to have Toto come to be with us, this crack that we have as Minister of Economy. You realize that we are facing a change of era, right? Look, we have inherited a bomb that combined the worst of the three worst crises in Argentine history. The Rodrigazo, the hyperinflation of Alfonsin, and what was the crisis of 2001. In fact, we are making the biggest adjustment, not only in Argentine history, but the biggest adjustment in the history of humanity. We are facing wholesale inflation, which in December was 54%, but was 17,000% annually, and this giant that we have as our Minister of the Economy is taming it. In the last estimate, it was 3.4%. And all prices continue to fall. And it is incredible that after 100 years of messing with our heads saying that this cannot be done and demonizing presidents and ministers who took responsibility for putting the country in order. Today, we are gaining popularity and my minister has become a rock star. That is why I want it to be noted that we have it branded in us. We will do everything in our power to fulfill the sacred mandate of the ballot box. We are going to give freedom back to the Argentines, so that once again, just like during the glorious era of May, each Argentine can once again be the architect of his own destiny.
Vamos los leones.
Come on, lions. I want to begin to end these words with a brief reflection. Relax, there will be a recital, but it is not today. Thank you for that shofar. I am clear that these first 5 months have been difficult. They have been difficult for everyone, especially for the majority of Argentines who are heroically putting their bodies on the line. But they have also been difficult for other reasons for a good part of the Argentine political, business and union leadership. They have been difficult, not only because we inherited the worst crisis in our economic history, and putting the economy in order after decades of disaster is not free, but also because a cycle of our political history has closed which, beyond intentions, has clearly been a resounding failure. But that cycle is over. I understand that many protagonists of that cycle find it difficult to accept the fall of that old regime. I even understand that they find it difficult to imagine their place in this new Argentina. But I want to reiterate something that I have already said on other occasions, and that is that, far from pursuing personal vendettas or petty revenge, and far from prioritizing our personal political interest, we have only one interest ahead of us: the interest of the majority of Argentines who chose to live in freedom. Because, as Mariano Moreno said, we want a dangerous freedom more than a peaceful servitude. Today we are standing before a new turning point in our history. That is why I come here today to propose a new Argentine dream. That dream is to take up the gauntlet of the heroes of May, to put aside partisan interests, personal and political ambitions, and to transform ourselves into a generation of patriots who dare to rebuild the greatness of our nation. A new generation that has the courage to do what history demands, even if the cost is that of our own reputation, so that we can, for the first time in 100 years, embrace again the ideas of freedom that transformed a poor, empty and illiterate country into a world power in decades. I invite you to undertake a generational feat like those about which history books are written, to be a new generation of May. A new generation of May that makes the sound of broken chains thunder and inaugurates a new era of glory for our beloved nation. You are testimony to the hell that is socialism. Thank you, Venezuelans. The Argentine Golden Century crowned in the celebration of the centenary in 1910 and the century of humiliation that has sunk us into misery. I am inviting you here today to inaugurate a new golden era for Argentina, in the name of the May Revolution of 1810, in the name of the generation of 1837, which imagined a country that guaranteed the benefits of liberty for all those who want to inhabit our soil, and in the name of the generation of 1880, which embodied in our land the ideas of the May Revolution. Happy Fatherland Day. Finally, I ask God to bless the Argentines and that the force of heaven be with us. Long live liberty, damn it. Long live liberty, damn it. Long live liberty, damn it. Thank you very much.